Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Intentional Productivity Tips. I am Megan. I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner, and I want to thank you for joining me today to talk about some intentional productivity tips. You are watching me on USA Global TV and Radio's YouTube channel, where please, I ask, like, subscribe, even be notified of when new episodes drop. I will say it is kind of fun to see that happen. Also, I would like for you to check out USA Global TV and Radio's website and check out the other programs and other shows on USA Global TV and Radio's YouTube channel. The opportunities are endless. The goal is to help you live your best life, and there are some tools you'll be able to use. Speaking of that, we are going to talk about some of those very important tools today. Last week, if you were with me, I hope you were. If not, please go check out the episode. Last week, we spoke with somebody that I've worked with for a very long time. We talked with a recruiting pro, talking a little bit about job search and productivity. Last week, we talked to Kelly Jones, who shared with us expert insights from the recruitment chair today. Today, we're going to continue on with talking about job search and productivity. And because it is the year of 2025, I do feel it's important a little bit to clarify when we're talking about job search, what job search are we talking about? Because we know that there is recruiting and there are job searches for corporate America jobs, corporate jobs around the world. We know that there are jobs that you can apply for that are full-time jobs, right? There's that job search that's been around forever and ever. Well, not forever, but for a long time. Then we also know that there's job and opportunity search that is more remote based, that is more project based, that is using potentially a platform like a Fiverr. LinkedIn even has opportunities, Upwork. We're going to talk today about job searching and opportunity searching 2025, how to best handle that. And we're actually going to look at this from two perspectives. I'm kind of excited about this. As you know, I'm excited every week. But this is one of those weeks when I'm extra excited because this is an opportunity for me to blend two of my loves. Well, two of where I've spent my life in the last years of my corporate and my job professional world. We are going to talk about project-based remote hiring. We're going to talk about it from two perspectives. We're going to talk about it from the perspective of the recruiter, and we're going to talk about it from the perspective of talent. When I was thinking about this, because I was thinking, it's important for us, whether we're recruiting for a remote-based project, or whether we're looking to work on a remote-based project, some of the information we're thinking about needs to be looked at from both perspectives, if you will. I will say for me, I like this because I have worked as a recruiter and I have been a job seeker. I have worked as a recruiter for corporate jobs for full-time jobs. I did that for about 20 years. And for the last 10 years, I've also been recruiting for project-based jobs. So what I wanted to do today is share just a little bit with you about what is it? How can we take control of our job opportunity search when it comes to remote project-based jobs? And how can we be productive about it? So we are going to intertwine the two perspectives today. You will see on the screen, when we are talking about recruiters, it is going to be in blue. And when we are talking about talent, it is going to be green. And why green? Because talent, we know we need the money. And so we are going to look from two perspectives. And we're going to look through this process from both the recruitment side and the talent side. Because if we put them together, I think it's going to equip you for your job search. And I think it's going to help you be more productive. And isn't that what we're all about? Again, today's intentional productivity tips is project-based remote hiring, 2 perspectives, 1 process. So let's get started with the very first part. So today we are going to talk about 6 steps. We're going to talk about benefits of hiring remote. We're going to talk about writing the project post, responding to the project post, right? We're going to talk about the project post. We're going to talk about keeping our profiles up to date. We're going to talk about inviting prospects, inviting people to our projects. We're going to talk about reviewing that proposal process and then setting realistic expectations. Again, like I said, we're going to look at this for both perspectives because to me, if we're thinking of both perspectives, it's going to make us better, whether we're recruiting or looking for an opportunity. Purposeful recruitment is super important when we're thinking of how we're going to find people for projects in 2025. Because the great thing about 2025 is that there are more opportunities than ever. The great thing about more opportunities than ever is that it can make it a challenge to be productive and find the best places. Why is it that we want to start with purposeful recruitment, where clarity meets connection and every great hire starts with intention? Why do we want to do that? Let's look from the recruiter's side, right? From the recruiter's perspective, why is it that I want to be purposeful in my hiring, right? We know in different areas in our life, there's been times when we hire mass people, times when we don't hire mass people. But one of the things, no matter how busy or what size project you're hiring for, being intentional and purposeful with your hiring is important. Again, why is it that we want to do this? From the recruiter's perspective, is we know that there is going to be projects that come in and productivity begins with a clearly defined recruitment process and hiring process. We know that posting clearly is going to set expectations. And we know that remote hiring isn't about filling seats. It's about designing systems that connect the right people to the right work. Remote hiring is not about filling seats. It is about designing systems that connect the right people to the right work. We want to treat each hiring step as recruiters like a project milestone. We want to document, communicate, reflect, and track progress like we would any project. Recruitments are projects. I always say recruiters make great project managers. Sometimes recruiters like hearing that, sometimes they don't. Let's think about why it's important to be purposeful in our opportunity seeking as a job seeker, as the talent. For job seekers, productivity starts before the project. It starts with us knowing what kind of projects we want. It starts with how we're approaching projects, where we're looking, where we're posting, right? We know that updating our profile, keeping ourselves updated, keeping our information and skills updated is important. And it's important to remember that remote work isn't just about landing gigs. It's about building partnerships that help you grow and shine. Remote work is not, we think it's the gig economy. We call it that a lot, and it is. But one of the things that's important to realize in the remote project-based work is we might have a transactional project, but project-based work actually is not transactional. It is a process. I've had many clients who have hired me over and over again because we work well together. I know I know what's going on. And so it is important when you are the talent to realize that while we do need this project, we are looking not just for the project, but for the relationship. Treat your job search like a project as well. Plan, track, reflect, and even after each proposal and after each process, continuously improve. So we know that purposeful employment, purposeful job search is important. Setting up a job search, setting up a recruitment from the recruiter's perspective and from the talent's perspective. But let's look a little bit about in 2025, we know right now, in a lot of cases, remote work is getting a bad rap, right? We know that there were companies during 2020 in the pandemic that were like, oh, we're moving remote. You can be remote forever. And it was awesome. And now 5 years later, we're beginning to hear companies that are like, well, this remote thing doesn't completely work. But we are 2 things. One, it does. And that is a fight that I will go for because I have been working remote and I do know that it works. It can be more challenging, but it does work. And second, we want to talk about, because we're talking about remote-based projects right now. So we want to focus, and we know that they are good and that there are amazing remote projects out there. So from the recruiter's perspective, remote benefits are amazing, right? Because we're able to act as recruiters when we're looking for remote project-based talent. Our we're specializing talent anywhere in the world. We're accessing specialist talent anywhere in the world. When you think about it, the minute that you take the location out of it and you open jobs and projects to the World Wide Web, the Wi-Fi, open it up to the world, you are changing your accessibility to your talent in your competition, which is an important thing in a lot of cases. Working in technology and cybersecurity over the last 5 years, I would say the ability to find cybersecurity workers and specialists remotely is much easier than locally. And so it is important to realize that we have specialized talent. We also are able to scale our team quickly, flexibly, and affordably if we're using platforms and remote-based project work. We are also able to diversify perspectives. I was talking about this morning with a company, and being able to have multiple perspectives, even multiple parts of the world in a project, is hugely important. We cannot undervalue the power of having different perspectives from around the world on projects. And one of the things I'll say as a recruiter, so I worked with Upwork, the Upwork platform. I worked with the Upwork professionals team for about 2 years. And I will say that is when I really started to do a lot more global recruiting. And that was in about 2016. And I will say after that, watching the Olympics is much more exciting, because now there's these countries, when they're coming in the opening ceremonies, I've met people there. And there's something to be said. Again, from the recruiter's perspective, remote work and the benefits are pretty endless. Now let's think about from the talent perspective, right? What's the benefit of working remotely as talent? We're able to work with people in projects around the world, right? We're not limited to what we're doing based on our location or our locality. As talent, we're also able to learn new skills and grow throughout global collaboration. I've learned amazing things collaborating from people from different countries. Every project builds confidence, creativity, and connection. And then as a talent, I will say this, the accents, stories, and shared wins when working with people around the world makes it unforgettable. I was working on a project with Upwork, and we had we were working with an Italian team. And I will tell you, the first time I heard "Ciao Bella" from the Italian with an Italian accent, I melted. It was amazing. From the talent's perspective, if we look at remote projects, we're increasing our opportunities, but we're also getting to introduce and meet different parts of the world. And that's pretty spectacular. Let's look a little bit at, okay, so we know the benefits. We know why it's important to be intentional, and we know the benefits. Now let's look at the actual job search. Let's look at the actual project process, from posting a project to hiring somebody. Let's look again from the two perspectives. Let's look from talent. Let's start with recruiting. So the first thing that we're going to look at, clarity starts the connection, right? If we're defining what we need and we share what we offer, then we're going to let the match, right? Because what we're looking, when we're talking about a proposal and when we're looking at releasing the proposal from the recruiter's perspective, and we're looking at completing the proposal from talent's perspective, the important thing to realize there is that we want to identify from the beginning, it's about putting the pieces together. How can we put the pieces together? So let's look at writing the project post from the recruiter's perspective, right? Now, this again is something, so I had worked in the United States doing recruiting and hiring from the early 90s until the 2015-ish area, right? So I was very, very good at working and hiring and recruiting and understanding how to do that. Then I started working for Upwork, and I started recruiting for project-based internationally. And my California HR trained brain was like, oh, we can't do that, but we can. And that's why remote project-based work and postings are amazing, right? Sometimes there might be some limitations that we have. The good thing to remember when you are hiring for remote project-based work, especially using a platform, the goal is clarity. The goal is give people the information. It is not about buzzwords it is about protecting ourselves. Let's be honest. It always is, but it's a different mode, right? So when I'm talking about writing the project post from the recruiter's perspective, I'm saying clarity attracts the right people from the beginning. Tell somebody, if I need you from 5 to 7 a.m. every morning, I need to write that in the post, right? When we think about being a recruiter and looking for someone with a post, as much detail that specific I can give, it's going to help me find the right person. It is a comfort zone. And there are times when people are like, oh, Megan, I'm not sure about that. And I'm like, with you, totally with you, been there, done that. So we want to be clear. So we track the right people. We want to define goals, deliverables, expectations up front. If I want you to have 3 years working on a specific project and I will only accept 3 years, put 3 years in a project, nothing else will be accepted. And then you can Ignore anything else, right? Add real examples and tone that show the kind of project. Again, working in cybersecurity, it has taught me a lot about the specificity of specific tools and specific asks. And then write like you're inviting a collaboration, not writing a post, posting a task, right? When you think about it, again, because this is a remote project-based work, we might be using a platform, we might be doing it on LinkedIn. Our goal is collaboration to find the best person. When the recruiter is writing the post, be specific and clear, because it's going to help you when you're meeting with talent. Now, so the recruiter, we're talking big picture. The recruiter writes the post, and then they're going to screen and invite people to the post. For example, if we're talking about like Upwork or one of those places, as a recruiter, we're going to write the post, then we're going to invite people to the post. And I want to talk just a minute about a screening reminder. I want to talk a little bit about when we're inviting people to posts and when we're looking at their proposal. Weezer, a couple years ago, had a very, very, very powerful advice for us. We need to listen to Weezer when we can. In Weezer's song, in their song, Don't Knock the Hustle, they have a great, great reminder. Leave a 5-star review and I'll leave you one to can't knock the hustle. When it comes to looking at if we're going to invite someone or looking at freelancers profiles or talent on platform, right? So I'm the recruiter, I'm looking at talent. I want to look at the platform or wherever I'm looking at them. What I want to do is I don't just want to count on one thing. When I'm inviting people or when I'm looking at a proposal and I'm looking from the recruiter's perspective at a freelancer's profile, I want to look at things. And on the screen, I have one of my old profiles right here from Upwork, right? So what we see here is we see things like, what is a job success score? What are there any programs? Hey, I was a top tier plus freelancer, right? We want to look at, hey, Megan here, she had 100% job success score. She is top rated plus. Then we also want to look at things like, hey, look, she's earned over $100,000. She's had 64 jobs. Look how many hours she's applied for. Look at her star reviews. So when we're screening as recruiters, when we're screening talent, we can't knock the hustle. We want to look at the 5-star reviews and we want to look at the details a little bit more when we're looking at the talent. How many jobs have they had? What are the specifics? Because when we're inviting, there are times on projects, for example, if we're doing something like a video editing and you just want to invite whoever to apply, that's one approach. But when we're talking about productivity for recruiters, there are times when it's not worth inviting everybody. We want to invite specific people. So this is how we want to begin to narrow that down. It is important when we are the recruiting and inviting prospects. Again, there are some projects we might say, hey, we want everyone to invite, go for it. But again, if we're talking productivity and we're talking about how to take control of our time, there are a lot of projects when we don't want to screen everybody. We want to look and we want to be very specific. Inviting prospects means things like using filters smartly, right? Whatever. Read profiles of people, read the specific of the projects, read the feedback. I had in my recruiter hat, I had a freelancer that had applied for a project and there was a 0-star review on one of their projects. And I read what the person wrote and I read their response. And the freelancer responded saying, hey, this is what happened. You didn't give me the deadline information and this happened. And so again, you find out information. So when we're inviting prospects, keep it personalized, keep it simple, be specific, and look at what you want. It is important to be intentional with who we invite for projects because it's protecting our time and our process. So as recruiters, we want to take time to not only create a post, but that is inviting and informational, but then we want to invite prospects that are going to meet our needs. So that's the post and the project from the recruiter side, right? Now, when I'm talent, I might get invited or I might find a project proposal that I want to apply for. As talent, should I just apply? No, I shouldn't. I tell people this all the time. People are like, I have to have a job. I have to apply to everything. And I'm going to tell you that is, again, we're talking about productivity and that's not the productive way to do it. What we want to do instead is focus on the projects that are increased likelihood for us. And we do that based on reading Read the proposal and the project clearly. We do know that there are some bad proposals out there. There are people who post fake jobs out there. So looking at it from, are there red flags? Again, as a recruiter, I said, look at the profile of the freelancer. And talent. As talent, look at the profile of the company. For example, again, if I'm on Upwork, I can see how many people they've hired. I can see what kind of projects they've hired. I can see what freelancers are saying. There have been times when I haven't accepted projects because I've read what other freelancers are saying. And if they've been through a horrible time and experience, why would I want to do that, right? So when we think about reviewing the project proposal, we want to look at the company. We want to look at the job. We want to be honest. Is this a project I can do? Do I have the skill set for this? Because we don't just want to apply because. It's important to be realistic, because realistic alignment beats rush acceptance every time. Because remember, you have to complete this project. And so you want to be able to do it. I've done it. I've accepted some projects and then I'm like, I shouldn't have done this. Trust your instinct when you're looking at the project proposal as a freelancer. Then you want to take the time to create a winning proposal. People have said, oh, Megan, I don't want to do a new one every time. Yes, you do. In personalizing every proposal will show you understand the project. And it also is going to help you align with some specific tasks. One of the things I always do when I'm creating a proposal, I cut and paste whatever the deliverable, the actions, what they're asking for. I put it in the notes and then I start to map. Okay, here's how I'm showing that I'm going to do this. So it's important that we begin to start and think, am I able to personalize the project and say, am I able to do it? Focus on results and solutions, share examples, show what you have done, because it's going to be helpful. And also track proposals so you know where you stand. Keeping a template and keeping track of where you've applied is important, because I've had people that have applied with me multiple times and they didn't realize it. And it has a look, right? It does. So as talent, we want to be sure that we're looking at the proposal, and then we're looking at the project posting, and they're creating a proposal that's going to work. Part of this also is keeping our platform profiles updated. What platform profiles, Megan? Again, are you on Upwork? Are you on Fiverr? Are you on LinkedIn? Where is it that people are going to be able to access you? Because if you submit a project with your name on it, people are gonna Google you and find your profiles out there. So it's important, one, that your profiles match. It's important that your profiles are up to date. It's important that your profiles are in alignment. It's important that they're professional and represent you how you would want, so that talent in recruitment, so that the recruiters will hire you. So it's very important to treat your profile as a living resume. Profiles are not transactional, they are process driven. And it's important to remember that, again, as talent. Because as we've just talked about, when it comes to the project posting, we've got what the recruiter needs. They need a clear project description. They need to invite the best options. For the talent, we need to review the project and we need to create a proposal that they'll be able to understand. For the recruiter, when reviewing the proposals, slow down and actually read them. I have clients who are like, okay, I'll time stack. I'll read my proposals while I'm on this Zoom and stop right there. Now, again, in productivity, we know there's a place for time stamping, for task stacking. This is not it. If you are looking for something and a project is dependent on finding the right talent, you have got to focus your time. You've got to slow down and look at them, right? You need to look at them and focus, because we know the real fit is going to show up between the lines. We want to look at similar projects they've done. We want to look at what are the words they've been using? What are the description? What is the tone? How do they describe it? Is that in alignment with what we need? There's been times, especially when I have been recruiting for cyber projects, where people are using it. They say, here's the tools I use, and we say, here's the tools we need. It's not a match. It's not going to work. So when we're reviewing proposals, we're tossing you in, we're tossing you out, right? Are you screened in or are you tossed out? And the way we look at that is slowing down, looking at similar projects, looking at what they've done, looking for clarity, and read when your brain is fresh, right? Reviewing proposals is important because we need to picture, is this someone we could see ourselves working with however many hours? And is this a person we can see helping us finish this project? That's important. Okay, so I think we've got a bit of an idea and an understanding from the talent and recruiters of what we're looking for in the project posting and proposal. Then we're going to get to an interview. And this is a part that's interesting. When it comes to remote-based recruitment, the interview might take a few different The interview might happen. Maybe it's asking questions. Maybe it's a formal interview. Maybe it's a conversation. So what I want to do is I want to prepare us for what do we want to do when we're conversing, right? When we've got the intentional interview, what is it that from the recruiter's mindset and from talent, what's important for us? So if we are the recruiter interviewing talent, it's important to not just focus on skill, but to focus on approach. This is when we do need to remember this is a remote job, right? So we're not going to be in the office seeing people face to face, maybe not. So we need to trust and believe that the person we're hiring has that ability to get stuff done on their own and that they have a history of it. We want to listen, right? Listen for curiosity, communication, consistency. Listen for how people ask questions, because when you're working remote, how people ask questions is going to become important one day. We also want to discuss the tools. Again, these are the tools we use. Are we Microsoft? Are we Google? Are we Apple? Do we have some specific tools? And I am shortchanging it in that way, but you know what I mean, right? And I'll be honest, there's jobs. I'm an Apple person. I'm a Google person. When I see postings for Microsoft only, I'm like, it's going to take more effort. Something I have to think about. But when we're interviewing, we want to be able to find out, what is it that people are comfortable with? What do they know? And then that they understand the milestones. When it comes to interviewing and you're the recruiter, important. Trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. When you're conversing and having a conversation and it feels right and they're getting it and you can feel it, trust it. When you're having a conversation and you're like, they didn't. I always say, trust your gurgly gut feelings, because our gurgly gut feelings are our intentions that we have developed over a lot of years. I'm not going to tell you how many, but you know what I'm saying. So when it comes to interviewing talent, we want to be intentional and we want to watch for them. We want to look at the habits. Do they show up early? Do they show up late? Those things are going to matter. Now, let's think about from the talent perspective. We need to interview with intention, right? Because we need to think about we need to treat interviews as conversations, not auditions, especially when it's remote based. We need to be professional and we need to be real, but we need to be authentic and honest so that the recruiter gets a sense of who we are, because that's super important. We need to ask questions when we are talent interviewing, right? For project-based work, we need to ask questions. If there are specific questions we have, for example, I always ask, what is your meeting cadence? Do you have a stand-up? Do you have chats that I need to be a part of? Do you expect me to be working? How often do you expect, what is that turnaround time when we're working on a project? What is the communication turnaround time, right? We want to notice the energy. We want to share our workflow. When we are the talent and we're interviewing, we want to show up to answer their questions, but we want to make sure our questions are asked too. Is this a project I want to show up for? Is this a project I want to attach my name to? Trust your instincts. Just like I said in recruitment, we need to trust our instincts. As talent, we need to trust our instincts. I promise you, I have learned this the hard way. There was a project, I can't remember the year, it was in the teens. I had an interview with this woman and I was like, something seems off. It might have been the fact that she was crying through the whole interview, but she was saying that was something personal. I took the job and I regretted it every day after. And so it's important to trust our instincts. And interviews are guidance for freelancers as well, for talent. So we have talked about, we've got the interview, right? We know from the recruiter's perspective and talent perspective, authenticity, being honest, giving specific examples, and connecting and making it apparent that there's a communication connection is super important. The good news is, after all that, we're to the project acceptance point. What do we need to do in remote-based project work so that we're able to accept a project and accept standards and set expectations that are going to work for everybody, right? So we know that the recruiter, we know that when it comes to project acceptance, we know that the recruiter, it's important, confirm the scope you want, the deliverables, right? We know that it's going to be important to outline what are the feedback loops and communications, right? Be upfront about the tools and access, be upfront about ownership, and set boundaries. It's important for the recruiter's perspective to do all of that at the beginning. As a recruiter, when you are creating the project and you're doing the offer and acceptance, that is that time to set the realistic expectations and what you want. Anything you need to get in, you want to get it there. So you want to set expectations that are honest. Let the person know what to expect, right? Then when we're coming from the talent perspective, we need to know what our needs are going to be and boundaries. It's defining our needs and boundaries. So again, it's confirming the deliverables. It's setting communications that are going to be realistic. This could be, so for example, I have worked in projects when I've worked all around hours, right? I had a project for a while when I was coaching a client from 2 to 4 a.m. every morning. And so there was one of the things when I was like, I will be honest, working for me 2 to 4, Monday through Friday is going to be a challenge. Can we do it Sunday through again, setting realistic boundaries of what I can do long-term. Important to be honest. It is job search. We know it is important to be honest all the time. There is never a more important time to be honest than when you're working remote, because you can't walk into someone's office and get answers. So it's important to set realistic expectations and to be honest about your needs and boundaries. Is there a holiday? I loved working. I worked with a team from the Philippines for a while. And one of the things we did at the beginning of December every year is we would set a calendar that worked for everybody for the family events, traditions, and holidays that they wanted to celebrate. Again, it's that setting boundaries. As a talent, when we're accepting projects, that is our time to set, again, clear expectations and things that we need. When we are working in project-based work, it can be a magical experience, but it's important that we set it up and are intentional along the way. Project-based remote hiring and working, connecting remote recruiters, talent, to projects, to me, is one of the most powerful things that we can do. And I hope that today's discussion has gotten you to think a little bit about the other perspective, right? So if I'm talent, let me think a little bit from the recruiter's perspective. If I'm a recruiter, let me think a little bit about this from a talent perspective, because it's important for us that we're able to have the most successful and productive project experience. It takes effort on both sides. And that effort to have a successful project, remote-based project, that effort starts with, again, the project description and posting and all the way through. So the goal today has been for us to look at, from the perspective of the recruiter, everything from, again, why we want to hire remotely, to the process of creating the post, to reviewing applicants, to interviewing. What does a recruiter need? And then we've also looked at looking for projects, being invited to projects as talent. My challenge to you now is to take some time and think about where you are with your remote-based project work. Are you applying as talent right now? Are you looking for talent as a recruiter? Or is this something you need to keep in mind for the future? Whatever that perspective is, I hope this time that we've been together has been valuable. I hope that it's been insightful. And as every week, I hope you've learned at least one new thing. I hope that you've learned one thing that you'll be able to incorporate into your job search, into your remote, whether it's full-time job, whatever that opportunity search is. I hope that this has been able to help you and provide some tools. I am Megan. I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner. I thank you for joining me today. If you have questions, please reach out to me. You can find me at megan@indelible.global. That's my email address. You can also find me on Instagram at Intentional Productivity Tips. And of course, on USA Global TV and Radio's channel. Feel free to email me at megan@indelible.global if you ever have any questions. Next week, because you can find me on USA Global TV and Radio's YouTube channel every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific. Next week, we are going to continue with job search and productivity. Next week, we're going to talk about how to have an organized job search and how to be productive. This week, I do challenge you this week to please be kind to yourself. Look at what opportunities you want. Look at the opportunities out there and then figure out how you can connect to them, because there's some pretty amazing ways to make it happen. Let me know if you have any questions. Let's talk next Thursday at 2 when we talk about organizing your job search. Now, here's a word from our sponsor.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.